Alright guys, welcome back. It's 90s Kid, and today we're at the Crow's Nest. We're going to chat a little bit about a new build that I've been working on. This is a Swiss Army knife of a build. This build does it all. You're going to have some healing capabilities. You're going to have good damage. You're going to have fortifying, rending, weakening. You're going to empower your group. You're going to have certain knockdowns to have some crowd control. There's just a lot going on in this build. I wouldn't consider it a build that you use when you're first playing the game or first starting the game. You can make it work, but because there's a little more map awareness, group awareness to this, you need to be able to know where the best placement to be is for your group. So you're kind of the last one into the fray because you need to place yourself in a good spot around the DPS so they can get those empowers, they can get those heals and stay topped off. Again, you're not going to be healing expeditions with this. This is just to keep everybody at full health. So you're healing 2 to 3, sometimes 4K health with the rotation. That's not a lot, but it's enough to keep everybody topped off if you keep your rotation tight. Everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people use diamonds as their go-to. Healers are always using them. DPS use it a lot for that 15% extra damage at full health. Well, this is going to help keep everybody doing full damage potential by keeping everybody topped off. So it's a fun little build. Has great utility. Again, it's not something you're going to take into the raid. Those roles in the raid and the worm and those elite raids that you can do in game. Those are more defined roles there. Like everybody has their job and they do it. This is something you're going to be doing again, running mutation 1s and 2s, where you're trying to pick up the slack of somebody else. So if there's a new player, a new DPS, you're covering them. If there's a new tank who doesn't, have all the con or all the resistances that they need, you're able to keep them up. The healer help them keep them up. So you're kind of just taking the role as again Swiss Army knife of pretty much everything. So you're going to be in the back pocket of everybody and just kind of be whatever they need to be. That's the deal with this build. I call it cleric with a gun because we are a battle cleric. We are using a shield and flail today. So there's a couple different ways that we can use this, so let's get into it. First off, we'll talk armor. What I consider best in slot armor you can get for this set is Soul Shroud mask, or the Soul Shroud set. This set you can get from Merc Guard. It is always going to roll with Arcane Harnessing and Enchanted Ward. So I have 2 pieces on right now, so you can see they always have Arcane Harnessing and Enchanted Ward. My top one has Accelerating Barrage. The artifact that I use right now is going to be Featherweight. Now, if you find yourself needing a little extra points to put in towards your build, you can run Attuned Leather Pants, but with Attuned Leather Pants, you're not going to be able to run a shield and stay in a small or a light load to get that 30% healing and 15% base damage. Now your damage it goes on top of your healing with this build, so you want to focus on doing as much damage as well as doing as much healing. So that's where you just kind of have to decide on what you want to do. You want to heal a little bit more? Do you want to do more damage? It's up to you. My pants and boots are just some regular pants and boots I have. They have Arcane Harnessing on them, both. Refreshing, try to max your refreshing out. You want to be able to heal as often as you can. The shield I'm using isn't perfect. I prefer it not to have refreshing because I'm over. But Enchanted Ward, Keenly Empowered, and Shield Aggression. So it's the more damage that you can do, the better, because you're healing more, and obviously you're just doing more damage. So try to just focus on getting that done. You can use something like the Tanglevine Shield. It has Keenly Jagged. Now, Keenly Jagged isn't going to stack with anybody else's Keenly Jagged in a group, but if you're playing solo, you're playing alone, just, running around the main world, that's a pretty solid shield to use. Again, if you're wanting to run this, just run Merc Guard. You'll get some purples, you'll get some legendaries, but you can take these to the kiln, recraft them for whatever you want, whatever purpose, whatever skill you want. There's I think a leeching, some sort of leeching perk that you can get to where you're healing more yourself when you use it. So you can grab those perks, get Leeching Azoth Blast for your Blunderbuss. Make sure you're keeping yourself topped off. This build has a little lesser con than what the other builds I've shown, which I don't advocate a lot of con, but you'll find yourself, if you're not used to holding a shield up, you might get hurt a little bit more often with this build, right? So that's the armors. Go for that Soul Shroud set, and just focus on whatever perks you want. In terms of gems, I'm using mostly Arcane Rune Glass. My Featherweight don't have anything in it, because I don't want to dedicate my Featherweight to this build, so I haven't upgraded it. I would say I would probably go with Arcane Harnessing just for the extra damage if I was focusing this build. So make sure you're trying to stack as much damage as you can, right? As much elemental damage as you can, because you want your Blunderbuss and Flail to do as much damage as they can. Your Flail's damage dictates how much you're healing as well. Alright, so let's go over here. This is my Blunderbuss that I'm using. It is Keen, Abyssal Attunement, and Enchanted. And I have a Sapphire in there that also inflicts a burn. So that's the combo I got going right now. Attunement's a really solid, really solid skill or perk to have on your weapon. This thing, I'd say once you get your rends rolling, you're hitting it around 900 to 1,000 damage per pellet, which is pretty awesome. And Rending Flail is the flail that I use. Personally, Keenly Jagged is one of those personal perks that you're using. It's not doing a lot for the group unless, obviously, your Keenly Jagged's the one that's applying. But Trench and Rend's what we're here for. Blessed is what we're here for. Blessed is going to help you with your outgoing healing. Trenchant Rend is going to flow really well with the way this build is set up in terms of its passive perks. You'll see that here in a second. So having Trenchant Rend, I think, is very important for the way I run this build. Now that you can use Power Stone, if you put Blessed on the Power Stone, you are going to lose that single rend from Trenchant Rend, but you have so much more weakening capabilities that enemies are going to constantly be weakened, and you're still going to be able to keep everybody up. So that's a great also way to do it. You can see I have a diamond on this. I was using it even without Blessed, and it was still working. But Blessed obviously is going to really help your heals out. Again, Diamond keep you doing full healing potential at full health. Me, Grasping Vines, forever and ever. Being able to rend and weaken is the name of the game. And if you're not doing it, you're kind of hurting the party. So, Amulet and Earring. Again, these are gonna be up to you. I use Empowering Toast. Make sure you have that Divine, so you have that, all healing coming in maxed out. The empowers you apply last 35% longer. You are applying 2 different empowerments here, so it's nice that they last a little bit longer than the short 4 to 5 seconds that they're supposed to. Right now, I am using an arcane damage ring with healing breeze. I think this is about as good as it gets. I'd rather have hardy instead of refreshing, but I'll take it. Now you can use Sacred, get an additional healing, but I think personally going for arcane damage, because that is going to raise your healing as well. I think focusing on the arcane damage is best for you and the group. Again, you're not a full-time healer. I've tried 150 up to 250 focus. The damage, the damage hit that you take for doing 250 focus isn't huge. And if you're running maybe an M2, that might be something you want to run into. But having those different gears to just equip and test yourself to see what you like most is going to be your best bet. But personally, I like the arcane damage. I like hitting harder, and that's what's going to be best for this build, I think. Because in terms, you're still a DPS. You're loading in as a DPS. You still need to be able to do DPS. It's just that you're also doing these things too. And you need to be as efficient as possible. So it's gonna play. You're gonna play it as often as you can, get as efficient as you can, and that's what's gonna make you stand out. I always tell you that. Get good with the build, get your rotations down, and then learn where you need to be, and that's gonna make you stand out from the crowd, not just specifically doing big numbers. So yeah, that's the set. I will say a side note, I've used the Pestilence with this build. You can see over here my Arcane Healer, the Pestilence is equipped. So if you're running an artifact, I would say run the Power Stone specifically. I run the Pestilence because it hits just so much harder. So I'm able to do 1300 pellet. I was running M2s last night, and it was still just hitting so much harder than any other Blunderbuss there is. So I do tend to run that. So if you see some clips that are hitting a little bit harder, it's probably because I'm using it. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at our attributes. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at our attributes real quick. What you really want to focus on for this build is 150 focus, 150 intelligence. Spread everything out into strength that you can. That's going to help your damage of both the Blunderbuss and the Flail due to their scaling with strength. You can, I would say, hyper focus on getting 200 strength at least. Everything after 200 strength can be put into constitution if you're struggling to stay alive, or can be put into focus if you want to get to that 20% buff duration. But at least do that. I think those are your priorities. 200 strength, 150 intelligence, and focus no matter what. If you want to heal a little bit more, throw it into focus. If you want to stay alive a little bit easier, throw it into constitution. If you want to do more damage with your Blunderbuss, keep it in strength. That's what you want to focus on. I think right now I am using a 44 focus food to hit my 150 focus. So just a heads up on that. When it comes to our skills, Blunderbuss is the same as always. Azoth Shrapnel Blast, Splitting Grenade, and Blast Shot. Blast Shot is a knockdown and is a rend. If you're using double down, it will allow you to have that extra utility with Blast Shot. It will allow you to have an extra little heal to yourself with Azoth Shrapnel Blast, because you'll have that leeching perk on your armor. Hopefully you'll have that, and that'll help you out keeping topped off yourself when you don't have the flail in your hands. So I use Unload. That's because I'm just trying to do as much damage as possible. It's going to allow for 8 pellets instead of 6 after an ability. So in a rotation, you can have up to 6 to 8 to, if you're doing 1200 a pellet, like that's, you're hitting almost 8k extra damage in a rotation. So that's pretty nice. Let's head over here to Flail. We'll start with Bastion. This perk here is an essential just a chanted ward as a passive, so you're going to take reduced damage above 50% health. Cured Flailment's that passive I was telling you about that works really well with our Trenchant Rend. So the first target hit with a heavy attack within 3 seconds of using an ability will cleanse 1 stack of debuff from self, but will also inflict a stack of impairment, dealing 10% arcane weapon damage and weakening them. That can stack up to 3 times. So, you know, if your little combination is Arcane Eruption to throw some impairment on, you can hit them with this, add even more weakening, and another stack of impairment. You can hit them with this trip, which is going to allow you here for this passive to apply a 15% rend. So hitting a target that has weaken on it will give yourself a fortify and give the target a rend. So it's really nice. So with your trenchant rend and that, you're sitting at about 35% rend. Pretty good. Just basic absorption, so it's a little help in terms of mitigation for being in light load. 1% up to 7% as your health decreases. So that's a really nice perk to grab. I don't go with this last perk because it's not an arcane. It's not an elemental attack. It's just a slam, so it's a strike. It's not something that I'm focusing on, so I don't go with that. I don't go in reinforced vitality, though you might want to. It's just when the flail is equipped that you have a little bit extra health. I don't think it's that important. Over here on the cleric side, abilities and heavy attacks against targets with less than 50% increase healing 5% and gain haste. So I'd say this, since it scales off your focus, it can go up to 20%. At 150 or at 200, you're probably sitting around 10 to 12 or 13% increased healing coming in. So that's a pretty nice perk to have. Weighted superiority in a light load, 1% cooldown reduction when hitting a target. That's good. This is our first heal we want to focus on, Arcane Vortex. Now you're essentially just swirling your flail above your head, doing damage. After a second, the first spin, you will trigger an explosion around you that actually buffs your party. So that's why you want to be close. You want to run into the fray last to let people group up and then run into there. Try to get between, the tank and the DPS, or just stack on DPS. That way they get that 10% buff. That's big. And then this is going to help you root an enemy if you get hit 4 times. This is going to grant you another haste. And this is the heal. So all allies within 3 meters of a player during Arcane Vortex are cleansed of crowd control, which is great. All allies inside are healed for 65% weapon damage. It scales with focus. So your weapon damage and your focus are going to dictate your heal. Arcane Eruption is the other one we want to focus on. Drag the head of the flail against the ground, causing an eruption of arcane energy. This does really good damage. It's going to apply a stack of 2 impairments to a target. Again, impairments weaken an enemy's damage output. So targets hit with the first attack of burst are slowed, and then the follow-up attack is going to increase the durations of your weakens and your rends. So that's a really cool little addition to the Swiss Army knife belt. Supportive Blessing is the heal. You're going to consume an impairment, and you're going to trigger a heal that bounces up to 4 times to players within 6 meters, granting 130% of its total damage as health, 50% to yourself. So that's really nice. Better Together I use, but I don't think it's necessary. I would rather have Spiky Impairment's really good. It might be better. Like I said, this is just a 200 to 300 dot heal that is going to keep everybody topped off between battles on the run here and there, and in mutations. Spiky Impairment's going to allow you to apply another impairment to someone who basically just hits you, or if you block their hit, it's gonna put an impairment on them. So it's a really good passive. This Vital Embrace is while at 50%, while at or below 50% health, all flail attacks grant 3% life steal. So just a little bit extra health for you. Keep yourself topped up. And Leader of the Pack, really great perk here. When no allies are within 5 meters, all flail attacks do 15% more base damage. More damage is great, but when one or more allies are within 5 meters, they gain in power, increasing their damage dealt by 10%. So it's essentially, the sword and shield perk. So it's a really nice way. So, just look at it like this. You have all these weakens, right? Of all these weakens, you have these rends. You have the fortify with this barrage, and you have these empowerments to buff your party. You have the knockdown with that again. There's so much going on in here, and it might take a minute to iron down your rotation or figure out what you want. Like if you really like just having that one single heal, and you want to focus on having more weaken, go Arcane Smite. This is going to apply basically 3 weakens no matter what, and you're going to be able to use it quite often, and it's pretty hard hitting as well, so it's nice. Barrage is you're setting up to a 50% fortify on the tank or on the DPS around you. So that's 50% fortify for, if you have that buff duration, that's pretty big, man. Like, if you have 800 defense, you're looking at about 1200 after that. If a tank has 2600, he's looking at like 3800, so it's a really cool thing. The only issue being a lot of tanks running Flail are going to run Barrage, and they're going to probably run Arcane Smite. So the good deal about this is we're running skills that the tank, if they are using a Flail, probably won't. Completely stay away from Ward and Bludgeoning. This is going to link you with a player, and you're going to take part of their damage. If you link up with a tank, you're in trouble. So just stay away from that. But yeah, that's it, guys. That is what we're going to run with. This is the Cleric with a gun build, a little bit of Swiss Army knife. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you try it? Did you not try it? Do you want to try it? I got some really cool things coming up. Playing this really got me interested in trying to be a full-time healer with their Blunderbuss. Someone in the comments, we've been going back and forth a little bit on this. I didn't think it was possible at first. I have healed mutated 2 dungeons with a Blunderbuss in my offhand, and you're able to do way more damage than someone with a Void Gauntlet. Now Void Gauntlet does increase the damage of the party, but you're able to stay at a distance with the Blunderbuss and deal damage, as opposed to try to run in somewhere or set a buff on the ground that your DPS have to roll out of it because of a boss move or something. Like, there's just so much going on that the VG, I think, I don't know, might discredit the VG in certain ways, and I think allows the Blunderbuss to really shine in terms of giving the party some extra damage. So yeah, there's that. The best in slot build is still being worked on. I'm still working on, like, what stacks with empowerment, what doesn't stack with empowerment. Trying to hit that 2K per pellet, and once I hit my mark, I'll probably release it. Once I get enough information, I'll probably release it. Gathering all that information with no updated videos as of right now that I can find has been a struggle, but I'll get it done. Yeah, so I'm going to let some footage roll, probably some Merc Guard, probably some Mutation 1s and 2s, let you see the rotation, some healing in action, some damage in action. Hope everybody's doing good. Again, if you have any ideas for builds, throw them down below. I'm absolutely down with, putting something together. There's a hatchet build that I want to get to. So there's definitely more to come. Stay tuned, and yeah, I'm 90s Kid. Peace.